Welcome to this episode of the Talent Forge, where together we are shaping workforce behaviors. I'm really excited. Today we've got a special guest, Jim Huntzicker. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Jay, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
So, Jim, mindset is one of is one of the things it can hold us back, it can propel us forward. There's a lot going on in that space. You've written a book, Mindset Breakthrough. I'd love to just dig right into that. What is mindset? How can we define it? What does it mean? And, why should we care?
Well, mindset, from if we look at it from a neuroscience perspective, which is like, all the technology we have now is great, and sometimes it's bad, but sometimes it's really good, right? And like neuroscience tells us we're only seeing about 12% of reality, right? Like literally we have a filter on, it's like an 88% filtered reality. And what it's filtering out is everything around you that doesn't meet your subconscious filters. The stuff that you decided to believe most of the time you decided to believe before you were 8 years old, right? Like you decided to believe something when you were five, and you still have an adult brain trying to prove that right today, even if you don't believe it anymore. Like a quick example of that, we all know somebody who drinks too much, and they say they want to quit drinking, right? But then they never do, right? Like they say, I'm going to quit. This is going to be my last weekend, and then they still drink the weekend, and it's because consciously they want to quit, but subconsciously they haven't changed the program yet. And that's the subconscious is what runs the show. And so when we talk about mindset, we really have to look at the programming that we have and the ruts that we have in our mind that are creating the filters that we see life through. Because once you see things differently, you can make a decision to believe something new. And once you do that, you see differently. And when I say you see differently, it is like this epiphany, and it is the best thing that will ever happen to you because everything right now you're seeing like if you go, I teach powerful and primal states of being. Powerful is when you feel really good. You're clear, resourceful, energetic, and primal is when you feel bad, fear, anxiety, stress. And so, real quick, like people always like, well, how do I find these beliefs that are negative, that are bad, that are hurting me? Right there, primal. Every time you go primal, start thinking about your thoughts. Like every time you get stressed, fear, anxiety, automatic, those are automatic, right? You start pay attention to your thoughts. What are you thinking right then? Write them down because that is where your limiting beliefs are buried. That's where what's messing with your life the most is buried in those belief systems. And if, for example, if you have a desire for something and you don't have it, right? Like you want to get somewhere financially or in your love life or whatever it is, doesn't matter. You have a desire. If you're not there, the only reason you're not is because you have something stored in your subconscious that's stopping you from getting there. It's resistance, we call it. There's four levels of resistance. We'll get into that in a minute. But this all packs into mindset. So when you say mindset, you really got to go a little deeper because the mindset is created from the beliefs we have, and the beliefs we have, most of them started before we were 8 years old, and they were set in motion by our primary influences, usually our parents. And sometimes that could be a fight we overheard them, or something wasn't even directly at us, and we decided, oh, money's bad. Money causes problems. Or I'm not smart because you hear your parents praising your brother or sister for their homework because they got straight A's and you don't get straight A's. And so even though they weren't talking directly to you, you assign meaning that you're not smart, right? And so
Yep.
now you go through life thinking you're not smart because you assigned that meaning when you were five. Right? Like it's crazy. Like we have 5-year-old. So we have these 5-year-old brains that made this decision, and now we're adults and we're still going with these same decisions because we made that decision to believe this thing when we were so young, and we still carry it into adulthood. It's crazy.
You had me at neuroscience, and so just as a note, my background is in behavioral intelligence, which is neuroscience, psychology, and communication. And I love what you're saying because it is the formative years oftentimes that ends up carrying with us, and it manifests in a number of different ways. So, I remember, and I'm going to share one with you. This is one that maybe the audience hasn't heard yet, but we've talked a lot about like the conscious and the unconscious mind, some of the work from Dr. Ellen Langer, et cetera.
Great.
But when I was in probably second grade, Jim, I had a
Yeah.
teacher who told me, "Well, Jay, math is probably not your thing."
So
And and
this is such a
and
typical story, man. It's
and,
crazy.
and no joke, it carried with me through my entire life. I deferred graduating from college for 2 full years because I was afraid to take the math proficiency examination. Okay. So my behavior clearly shifted over the course, and I just thought I was bad at math. Now, I do computational. probabilistic decision modeling. I do linear programming. I do methodological research science. Clearly, I'm not bad at math, and when I ended up finally getting the courage to take it, I passed 4 levels above where I needed to pass in order to get through this, which is ridiculous. But it was a mindset.
But
I
what
thought,
I'll encourage you to see, and everybody listening, is so look at that. Because of that teacher, like let's find the good, right? Because if you're looking for bad, you'll find that. But if you're looking for good, you'll always find that too. And because that teacher said that, you studied that much harder. And now 2 years later, okay, so it set you back a couple of years, but that was also meant to be whatever. It's a story for another time. But then you because of that, you were 4 levels higher. So
yeah.
you actually and if without that teacher, you might have just been equivalent, maybe even less.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is it was 60 credit hours extra of communication and psychology courses. So it really did set me up for success in the long term. I don't regret that, but I do find it kind of funny is that I was holding on to a belief that I was not good at something when it was literally an engineer that pointed out, like, you're doing pretty advanced mathematics with, some of the different things that you're doing. Have you considered the fact that maybe you're better at this than you think? And it was so funny because it was that moment that really kind of shifted, like, wait a second, yeah, I am doing a lot of different things. Now, I was very good at applied mathematics. I wasn't always good at when they started adding in a bunch of letters and everything else. But let's talk about this sort of mindset. How do we all have something that we're carrying from some point in time, from hearing that argument, from somebody saying something. It could have been an off-word comment. It took me a long time to obviously overcome that. You've talked about some different ways in which we can sort of come to fruition with those different limiting beliefs that we have in a much faster way. Let's talk about that, Jim. What are your thoughts?
All right, so I just explained, already how to find them, right? These are the surface level ones, and we'll get into your core limiting belief, and that's the one that really messes with your life the most. And it starts to rear its ugly head usually between the ages of 35 and 55. So pay attention for that because we'll get to that in a minute because that's the one that's really screwing with your life. But the surface level limiting beliefs, the ones like your teacher said an offhand comment and you carried with it, until you were in college, like yours, for example. Now that's a surface level limiting belief. While you carried it with you and it did alter the way you handled your life, it's still at surface level, and we can get rid of those pretty easily. Like yours was one comment from an engineer that said, "Hey, dude, what you're doing is actually really advanced. Like, I think you're being a little hard on yourself." It just took one person for you to be like, "Oh, you're right. That's a decision that was made, and you maybe you tied it back at that moment to that teacher, maybe you didn't, but either way, you made a decision then to believe something new. So that old decision you made in second grade had finally changed when you were, whatever, you're 22, 23 years old at that point. And so you made a decision to believe something new. And so anybody could do that. So there's a real easy framework I'm going to give you. You can just do it on a piece of paper. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to download anything. I call it the decision director. You take a sheet of paper and you draw 2 lines to create 3 columns. So just draw 2 lines down, create 3 columns. In the column on the left, you title it limiting beliefs, your existing limiting belief, right? Something that you discovered that's holding you
I'm
back. And
not good at. I
yeah,
don't like. I am stuck. Whatever those
I
types
am
of things
not.
may
And
be.
if you ever say why we're on this, why if you ever say I am not, it is it's those are not just neutral comments. Those are commands to your self-conscious that makes that stuff true. So if you're not good at reading, if you're not good at math, if you're not good with money, that's not what you say, not even in your head. You say, I'm working on getting better at this because it's not a strength of mine right now. I'm
And
working on
shifting.
getting better,
Yep.
right? It's a shift, it's a mindset shift. It's how you view it, it's how your subconscious views it. But if you say, I'm not good at reading, your subconscious says, oh, okay, I'll make sure that's true. And it'll
There's a
never make you good
label.
at reading,
Yep.
right? And but if you say you are good, it'll find ways, it'll look for opportunities. Just like when people say, I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to work out. Well, then they don't see opportunities like taking the stairs. Just to go up 4 flights of stairs is an opportunity to burn some calories, or parking the car in the back of the parking lot and walking an extra 50 steps each way,
The
right?
two
Like,
percent. I just the 2% rule, and I forget the author, but he talks about it. It's literally 2% of the population is the only part of the population that actually takes the stairs. And
yeah,
they've done a couple of different studies, but it's the 2% in his world is make your life harder. take that back, build the micro resilience, et cetera. And he's a neuroscientist, and I'll come up with his name eventually.
Yeah,
But
I know who you're
yeah.
talking about. I thought I had the book, but I don't. I think I have it in my Audible. I think I got it in my Audible, and I don't have it in print yet. But okay, so all right. So back to the decision director. So we got two lines on the piece of paper. That on the left column, or three columns. Left column is the old limiting belief. And again, how you find those is anytime you go primal, right? Like what Jay said. Also, like when you tell the I am not, I'm not good. Like things that you say I am. Those are beliefs you have, whether they're good or bad, right? And so if you say I am something that's not positive, that's a limiting belief. And so the middle column is the new empowered decision. So let's just say you think you're bad with money. I'm not good with money, right? And that's your thing. And you could have a lot of money, by the way, and still be bad with money. Like
Right.
I have a friend I grew up with who's done very well. He's worth over $100 million, and he realized we were talking like not that long ago because I was studying finance, and he's like, dude, what do you do? Like I'm like, I never learned about money growing up. I didn't go to college. My dad didn't teach me. No, they don't teach you in school. Nobody taught me about money. Like I realized I didn't have like my financial literacy was super low. And here's this guy worth like $100 million. And he's like, dude, he goes, I don't know anything about money either. I'm like, well, you better fucking start learning before you lose it all. Like, right? Because you don't get your financial literacy up, people lose 100 million, people lose $300 million, right?
Look at
So like
professional athletes, the
all the
22
time.
year olds that
So
just
that
get
goes back
7
to
million. Yeah.
it's crazy. That goes back to being like they're never comfortable with money. They were comfortable being poor. They got all this money at once. As soon as the money's not regularly coming in, they find ways to give it away. Some gamble it away. Some invest in stupid businesses, and then all of a sudden they're broke because that's actually where they're comfortable. Because subconsciously they never got used to the money. They had zero financial literacy, and they never got comfortable with money. What they were comfortable with is being in credit card debt and broke because that's the way they were their whole life prior to making big money when they were 18. So it's crazy that is how their subconscious beliefs bring them back. And so that's a core limiting belief that makes people go broke when they're that wealthy. Because why would you be doing, financial literacy? That just seems to make sense when you have, making tens of millions of dollars a year, but not everybody. But anyway, so the middle column, we're back to the evidence of the new empowered decision. So you got that limiting belief, new empowered decision, and it could just be the opposite, mind you. Like so, just don't have to overthink this right now. And it could change, and you could add to this. But if I'm not good with money, I am good with money. And then the column on the right is you find evidence of that. Because if you're looking for evidence of good, you'll find it everywhere. Even little micro examples of that you're good with money, that you can save money, or that that you make money every week, or however it is, you could find that, okay, I'm actually, I'm not bad with money, but I do need to learn more, right? And so find examples, and that helps program your subconscious that you are actually good. Because look at these examples I have. Even finding money on the street. Like
Yep.
I find money laying around all the time. Like who doesn't find a penny? Like I pick up pennies all the time. Like why wouldn't you? Because also if you take one penny, by the way, and you double it every day. So today be one, then two, then four, then eight. And do that for 30 days, you'll be mind blown how many pennies there are at day 30, doubling it, starting with one on day one, two, four, 8, 16, 32. By the time you get to 30, the number's like 11 million or 10 million, I think. It's crazy how fast it starts
That's
compounding when you
crazy.
get to like
Yeah.
2021.
Yep.
But anyway, so that decision director, you go through that with any limiting belief that comes up. Anytime you go primal, anytime you tell yourself, I'm not good at, I'm not that, anything that's not positive, you have a belief buried there. And so like part of my story is that I walked away from 6 profitable businesses. Like literally, they were profitable. Nothing went wrong. It wasn't like they had a downturn and I had to go. I just stopped. Like I was a real estate agent in the top 1%. I just stopped. I was flipping houses. I was doing about 50, 60 a year, doing really well. I just stopped. I created an online info product for real estate investors. It taught them how to use the MLS to find deals to flip. I sold 800 of them. It was $1,000 product. I just stopped. And I can go on and tell you more, but the point is, on the seventh business, I was profitable until it wasn't. And then at the end, that was to me, it was God saying, "Hey, let me just grab all of this money you had because the first 6 businesses you walk away from, you didn't get it. So now I need to get your attention here." And he got it because then I looked back and I was like, what did I just do? Like, why would I walk away? Like, what? Because I could have sold businesses, I could have sold lists, but what I finally realized, I had to go on a soul searching journey of a couple of years. I didn't know it was going to be a couple of years, but on a couple year journey to figure out like why would I do that? Like, what was I doing there? Because I've been married 20 years. I got 2 kids, and so why would I be walking away from money? My upbringing was money causes conflict. We were really poor growing up until we were about 5. We were homeless at 4. We had to move in with my grandparents. Like weren't on the street, but we didn't have our own house anymore. And my parents drank a lot prior to that, and we were very, very poor. And so we lost a couple houses. The last one we didn't have enough money to get another one. Then my dad quit drinking. He went from driving limos and laying concrete to by the time we were 10, he owned multiple gas stations and a real estate office. But the fighting never stopped. So my parents went from fighting about having no money to fighting about now the money's the problem. And then of course they got
Yeah.
divorced when I was 12. So to
Sorry to
me
hear
and my brother, we had major issues that money causes conflict. Money causes problems. And so what was I doing with those businesses? Well, I love my wife. I had kids. So I was just like subconsciously, this was not conscious, but I realized what it was. I was running for business. I was running from the money because I thought I was going to start fighting with my wife, who I love to death and I don't fight with. And I thought I was going to break up my family and get divorced. That was my subconscious belief because that's what I believed when I was
you
7.
saw it. That was what you
It's my
experienced. And
experience.
yeah,
It was real life for me. And so that's why it was so real. And so the good news is it taught me money's easy to make. So when you look at the good, even though I walked away from all those businesses, that so much good came from it. And one of the good things is money's easy to make. And you just heard me say that, and you're like, what? You have to work hard for money. You have a limiting belief buried there that tells you that because it's not true, right? So some people learn from their parents because their parents and by the way, there's no blame here. There's no judgment. Everybody, your parents, their parents, the parents before, is doing the best they can with the cards they were dealt, right? Like
yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up because I do think that a lot of times it is that shame, it's the guilt, it's the sort of like resentment that's underlying that ends up stopping us from even looking at these beliefs and like, well, I guess, I should be thankful for X, Y, and Z. Yep, you should. But at the same time, you can also look at this and say, hey, this is a belief system that's kind of embedded itself that it's no longer serving me.
you inherited it. Like you didn't decide it on your own. Somebody else decided for you, and you're like, oh, well, that's my primary influence. And so obviously this is the way it is. Like you don't have any like when you before you're 8 years old, your brain's in theta, which is just you don't have any deductive reasoning. You just take everything as truth, especially from the people who influence you most, like your parents. So that's why even hearing fights, like I heard crazy fight, like there was no abuse, but there was, I mean, just screaming and yelling about money. And my room was next to theirs. And so all I heard was these fights about money and money and money. And so money was bad.
Yeah.
And so that was my core limiting belief. But here's the thing. Your core limiting belief, which is kind of like a marriage of your parents, if that's who raised you, but whoever your primary influences are, you're going to have what's your core limiting belief from them. And if your parents raised you, it's going to be kind of half your mom's, half your dad's. And that the surface level ones, that decision director can get rid of those, no problem. But the core ones, so those are anchored by resentment, and so that was something I did not even like. I had to go on this journey and figure out, and because I'm like, all right, I'm aware of this belief and I'm aware of why now, but I couldn't seem to shake it, right? Like I couldn't seem to get that belief because because I used to see like for me, it was even seeing cars like Range Rovers in my neighborhood or Rolls Royce, and I would automatically be like, rich asshole, like automatically, like all the
Sure.
rich people I've met in my life, most of them, like 99%, are incredibly gracious, generous people, right? Like so why would I automatically go to rich jerk when I see a nice car? And so now I switched it to I see a nice car and automatically it's like look at all the abundance in the world because I made a new decision. But the reason for that is growing up poor, a lot of people all the access they had to rich people was TV. And if you watch a lot of the shows, like I'm 47, so like a lot of shows from growing up, like if Gilligan's Island, MASH, I can name, because it's still the same today, by the way. The people you related to were the poor people living in scarcity. Like could barely, they drank a lot. They lived check to check. They, sometimes they bought food that with the last money they had, or they had to borrow just for that. But those are the people that were funny and you loved, you related to. And the people that you didn't like, the people that were the jerks and the villains of the shows, were the wealthy people. So
Yeah.
so it wasn't, it's
I think
subtle.
like The Simpsons, the Montgomery Burns, and
100,
yeah.
dude, 100% yes. Like that's so because of that, yeah, no, they're making a joke of it, right? Because it's The Simpsons, which that
Yeah.
show is incredible by like just their longevity and it's just incredible that show. I don't watch it anymore. I did for years, but that show's incredible. But there you go. That's a perfect example because they're exaggerating but that's
Excellent.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly. But that's not an exaggeration. There is really
Yeah.
people like that. And so because there's the few, that if you don't have any other access to wealthy people and all you see on TV is Mr. Burns types, well, then you're going to say rich people are jerks. And then you're not going to let yourself be a rich jerk. So subconsciously, if you believe rich people are jerks, you're not going to let yourself become a rich jerk. So you're going to find ways to get rid of your money. That's why people, even people that are worth 30, 40 million, like let's just not say sports guys that are worth
Sure.
300. People that do really well in business, 30, 40 million dollars that they have a net worth and they go bankrupt. Why? Because they were never comfortable with the money. Like they were smart enough. They obviously had the business savvy. They had education to get them there and to figure out how to make the money. But how did they lose that? They weren't comfortable with it,
So
right?
let
So
me
subconsciously they were never comfortable.
I want to dig into something here, Jim, because I think it's
Sure.
really important. I love this concept of resentment, and I actually do a lot of work around resentment. And I'd love to hear from you. As you're working with somebody or as you're coaching them, when we look at something like money, it's very easy to go, oh, that jerk in the Rolls Royce, right? Like that. Okay, I can see where that resentment kind of lies. When we look at something, say whether it's the surface level limiting belief, or if it does go to that sort of like core level limiting belief, if it's something that's not money related, how can we as individuals kind of identify the resentment? Because it's become such an encoded aspect of the way that we think, the way that we feel, and so on and so forth. We may not even, because emotions are so funny, they don't always show up as what they actually are.
For sure.
Sometimes we look at it as, oh, I'm not resentful and I'm not jealous of that person that has this. That it's that's the how do we pull that resentment out? What do we do to look for that as the underlying sort of feeling that we might be experiencing?
The best and most glaring example is blame, right? When you want to blame, like, oh, well, they did this to me. Well, there's a resentment there, right? Because you're going to say, well,
Okay.
my parents this, my parents that, this person that, this teacher did this, right? And so there's resentments there. And it's when you go primal. Usually, when you have anxiety, in fear, there's you start paying attention to those thoughts. Like that's why you write those down, because once you write them down and start really getting into the details of that, like here's another example. Like when I realized, like I stopped getting mad at my kids several years ago. Like I don't get loud. I used to yell a lot because my dad yelled a lot because his dad yelled a lot, right? And so I yelled a lot. I didn't like that I did, and I would just it's what I knew. And then I realized something. I had this epiphany one day. I forget why it even was, but my kid, I was mad about something. But like I'm like, and this time my kids were like 9. I'm like, he's still a kid. Like I just didn't teach him this. So my anger was really at myself for not being a good parent. Like I haven't parented properly. He's 9. And so ever since then, like my kids don't have a free pass. I'm stern, but I don't get mad and I don't yell because I just realized I obviously haven't conveyed my message well enough to them where it's sunk in as a belief that they need. And so that mindset shift,
Taking ownership in that
taking
space.
ownership of it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so when you do some deep, when you look inside, you truly look and you don't push it away, you're also going to find you have resentments to yourself, right? And so while your parents are the ones that are probably going to that are going to tie your core belief down until you let that go, you're going to have issues in your life till you let yourself off the hook too. And like that's not, like I have a self resentment inventory and a others resentment just to get, because people are like, well, I don't know if, I mean, here's what you do. Go to ChatGPT, right? Like everybody knows what that is now, and put in, can you give me a list of resentments people hold themselves. Enter. And they'll give you a whole bunch. And can you give me a list like of resentments people hold against parents, against, regarding love, money, whatever, from growing up? Can you just to get, I need some ideas because I know I have resentments, but I haven't figured them out yet. Like it's a free resource. It's going to give you an incredible amount of information there. And then you can be like, oh yeah, I got that. I got that. I got that. Oh, there it is. There. And now you can work, reverse engineer. Okay, like how do I get rid of this? Because this is a belief I don't want. I don't want to hold on to resentment. And here's the thing: some people are like, well, they did this to me, right? Like they're mad about it. But the person you're mad at doesn't care anymore. They're not even thinking about this,
They've moved
right?
on.
Right. So
Yeah.
you're holding on to resentments is like eating
Or they're
poison.
or they're completely unaware. that
Right,
they've
right. No,
created
no.
this condition.
For
Yeah.
sure, for sure. And
Yeah.
even if they are, they don't care, right? They're not thinking about it
Yep.
like you are. And so holding out that resentment is like eating poison and expecting the other person to die. The
Yeah.
only person it hurts is you. So you're not letting them go. You're not letting go of this resentment. They're not letting them off the hook. You're not apologizing to them. You're not saying anything to them. You're just processing this resentment internally to let it go so it doesn't eat you up inside anymore. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like you can look at it like this. Like it's not about resentment, but clinging and resisting, right? Like this I got from Michael Singer. If you know Michael Singer is, he wrote The Untethered Soul and Surrender Experiment. Incredible.
Michael Easter. That's the 2% person.
Oh,
You said
Michael
Michael
Easter.
Ziegler,
There.
and
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, Michael Easter. It just popped into my brain.
So
Sorry.
Michael Easter was a 2% guy.
Yeah.
Michael Singer is a surrender guy. And he's who I learned surrender from. But this was probably one of the most profound things I learned from reading his material is that okay, resisting. We all know resisting, it just gets bigger and bigger. And like if you just deal with it, whatever the problem is, it's going to be less than you think. And it's going to be easier to process when you deal with it right now. When you push it away, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And some of you have been pushing stuff away for 30 and 40 years. So you got these monsters that you're afraid to deal with because it's been so long. But here's the kicker is you also got to process stuff you like because clinging on to stuff you like also messes with you. And you're like, wait, what? Why don't I get to hold on to the good? No, just experience it. The bad, gone. The good, gone. Experience it as a good thing. As a bad, that sucks. Let me learn the lesson from the bad thing. But here, let me give you an example. You go to the beach. It's like the most beautiful sunset you ever saw. Like, oh my God, I cannot wait to come back and see this amazing sunset. And you go back to the beach the next time. And what happens?
Cloudy.
It's overcast.
Yep.
And it's beautiful in
Gone.
its own right because you're still at the beach and you still got this
Yeah.
ocean. And you still got the moonlight that's through clouds and it's incredible, but it's not the beautiful pastel colors you saw the first time. And now you're let down. So now you're going primal from something you like, right? So you because you had a belief that this is always this way. You set that you clung on to it and you're like, I have to have this to be good. So that sets your minimum standard of what it
Like,
has to be
yeah,
to be.
an internal expectation barometer almost. And it can go in either of the directions.
100%. That's exactly.
Makes a
And
lot of
then
sense.
the next time you go, now you're let down by something you absolutely loved. It was incredibly beautiful. When you could have just experienced it, going back the next time, you're like, look at this, look at the moon and the clouds. There's no colors this time, but look at how incredible this is,
Yeah.
right? But now you're let down instead. So
And I love this. It actually reminds me a little bit of Tai Chi. And so I did mixed martial arts for a long time, and everybody was always surprised, like Tai Chi is a nonviolent mixed martial arts, or a martial art, and maybe not even considered a martial art, but it is. It's the idea of
yes.
being able to surrender to a pressure and to be able to sort of pivot and to be able to reshift and move it into something else and turn, some kind of like
Some other
external
power.
force, yeah, external
Dude,
force into your own
I've
power.
never studied Tai Chi. I'm fascinated by it though. So you're exactly right with this example. You're 100% correct. Like this is a great example.
Okay. So let's take this because I love the three columns, right? So we have the limited belief or the surface level limited belief. We have the middle of the
New
opposite of
empowered
that.
decision.
Yeah, and then finding the evidence for it. So I'm thinking about this in terms of workforce development. And if we can take it there for a second,
For
Jim,
sure.
right? When we're doing training, coaching, or anything else inside of trying to develop a workforce, my guess, and I've seen this, so it's a partial guess, but I would be willing to bet that in a number of those different instances, you're going to have the audience with some level of resentment. Resentment for having to learn something new, to change a behavior, because people don't always love change. They look at it and go, oh my gosh, this is hard, or the brain says that this is hard, and why can't we just do it the way that
Well,
we've always done it?
your current belief system says it is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. But you're right.
right.
There's gonna be resentment there against this dude. Who's this guy?
So we're going to see some level of resistance, and this is well documented. This is something that we've done in our research. We see a lot of resistance to talent development programs. So in this regard, if I'm a leader, if I'm a coach, if I'm a trainer, if I'm an HR person and I want to introduce some kind of new behavior or some kind of new intervention that's going to create the conditions of change, how should I be thinking about resentment? How should I be thinking about this mindset to start off so that way I can get the audience in the right foot to be able to make those kinds of shifts or transitions? What are your thoughts?
Well, the first step to anything, right, to make change is awareness. most of them might not even be aware that the resentment is what is coming up. They just might be getting angry. They're going primal. They're like, who the F is this guy to tell me how to run my team? Or, like who are they bringing? Right. But if you start with the awareness, like you get out in front of it, right? Like they might already be aware there to teach them something. But if you just lead with resentment and tell them what they're going to process, it will change the way they view that experience because now they're going to see it from the eyes of, oh, wait. Okay. Like I would even use powerful and primal states of being. So you see, like you're either going to be learning here in a powerful state like you are right now, like you're optimistic, you're energetic, you're excited, or you're primal, like who the F is this dude? Who does he think he is? I have work to do. You're pissed off. Like so if you're in a primal state of being, you're not going to learn well today. But if you're in a powerful state of being, you're going to take one thing away. What if it's that one thing that helps you get a 10% raise on your next evaluation, right? Like, what if it's that one thing?
Saves
What
you
if it,
5 hours of time a week, whatever that might be. Yeah.
right? Exactly. So I think framing it the right way and letting them know that some of them are about to experience resentment and go primal, and they're not going to learn. And so you could take that into their everyday life, right? Like, be like, hey, does this happen in your daily life too? Because if it's happening right here, right now, this is not because of me. It's got nothing to do with me. This is all because of your internal resistance, because of your belief system that you're allowing you to resent something you don't. This could be this one meeting could be the thing that makes this pivotal change in your entire mindset and future that changes the entire trajectory of where you're going. And it could just be one little thing from the 10 points I'm about to give you. But because you're primal, you're not going to get any of the 10 points because you think you're too good for this, because you have resentment right now. And so if you don't turn on to being more open-minded and more optimistic, I'm sure you're noticing this everywhere in your life because it's not just me, right? So if you throw it back like that until they're going to reflect, be like, oh shit. Like this is all over my life. Like I do this all the time, right? Like and so they because we're creatures of habit and these are a belief essentially is a habit that you keep doing believing over and over and over again, right? And so these are just and here's the craziest thing that we get addicted to negative emotions. We get addicted to like that goes back to like, well, why do people go lose $300 million and go bankrupt? Because they're addicted to scarcity. They're addicted to poverty. And it's because it's what they're comfortable. Like, well, why would that be? I want money. And everybody says that. But when your comfort zone in your subconscious, when you're comfortable, is poverty, is poor. It's how you grew up. Right. And so the change is becoming the person with money, becoming the wealthy person. And so they go back to their what they're comfortable with, which is living in scarcity.
I see that a lot in entrepreneurs because it's oftentimes chaos that breeds innovation, and that's where you get a lot of really good entrepreneurs. But they are comfortable in that world of chaos, and they're not able to necessarily break out and say, okay, what got me here was this innovation, this having to overcome whatever this chaos, this craziness is. But now I need systems, and that transition, that shift is where I see a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong is because they are essentially resisting some of that sort of like structure because it's not comfortable to them or it's, you
Well,
know,
and they might have to ask for help to get it. And a lot of guys, especially if they made some, they started this business from scratch. They did well. And now all of a sudden, when I'm going to go listen to somebody else, like I have to take orders. I have to ask for help and let somebody and they can't do that because that's a block too, right? Like they can't be vulnerable because we are taught going back to the beginning of like World War One, like men were taught to not have emotion because men with emotion don't kill people. Right. That still carries forward today. Right. Like why are men like you men don't cry. Right. Well, why is that? Like why men can't be vulnerable? Well, why is that? Well, because we were taught that from a very early age because they were making soldiers. Right. So we don't have to worry about that so much anymore. Right. There's no draft. They're not making everybody a soldier. But that mindset is stuck with and because this is why there's no judgment and there's no blame anywhere because your parents and their parents and their parents were all doing the best they could with the cards they were dealt, right? Because their parents taught them. So if they never did this kind of work, the kind of work I teach, on mindset and how to deal with beliefs and how to change beliefs. If they've never done that work, especially the resentment side of it, then they're just carrying it and they're giving it and they're giving it and they're giving it. And there's no blame. They're not doing anything wrong. They're doing the best they can with the cards they were dealt. So like a lot of people don't want to deal with resentments to their parents as an adult because like, well, I love my mom. I love my dad. They're my best friend today. And it's not about not loving them today, but if you go back to when you were 5 and you're like that mother, like you have some resentment there, well, then you have to let it go. And it's not, you don't have to talk to them about it. It's not about dealing with the other person. This is all inside you. And so that's most people are afraid to deal with resentment because they think they have to confront the person, or they think they're confronting it in their own minds. They bring up an emotion, and it is. And you have to process that emotion, because if you don't, you're never going to get rid of it, right? You don't have to process it for days. Like, you've already been processing it for years, right? Years. Well, you've been avoiding it, so it's been growing, right? All you have to do, you sit with it. Like, this is the resentment framework. I'll give you this. This is the last framework. We're going to be wrapping things up here soon. But in order to get rid of resentment, once you figure out what it is, which is not hard, where you go primal, you say I'm not, and where you think when you think back and you're like, they wronged me, like that, there's a resentment there. So you got to name the resentment, like literally write it out on a piece of paper. My mom, dad, my teacher said this, my so and so said that, whatever it is, right? And then you gotta feel it. You gotta sit there, close your eyes, go back to that time in your, visualize, and cry about it. Like, you don't have to, but if you do, that's really good. That's you processing the pain. You haven't done that yet. So once you process the pain, like, do it for 3 minutes, do it for 5 minutes, like, stop. Because then what you do is you say, okay, all right, I felt this pain. This sucked. That really sucked. But is there a cost to keeping it? Or is there any benefit to keeping this and holding on to this resentment? And of course, it's going to be no, right? And so then this is the most powerful part. Give it a new meaning. Because why would we give anything a meaning in our lives? Like, Jay, we do this, all of us do this every day. Why do we give anything a meaning that doesn't serve us? Like, think about that. It's the craziest thing. Like, we assign meaning to stuff all the time that bring us down, that make us sad, that make us unhappy, that make us not as productive, that make us not as, beneficial to other people, not as good in our marriage, not as good to our kids. Like, why in the world do we do that? It's because we're wired for survival, right? Like, we know why, but here's the thing. You don't have to let that be. You could always assign a new meaning to things. If you go by default, your default is going to assign a meaning that doesn't serve you. That's just the way we're wired. That's our human nature. That's us running from saber-toothed tigers. That's like caveman programming, but we still have the same minds as cavemen. So crazy, but it's true. And so now you're left with the where's I going with that? I lost my train of thought.
It's the meaning that
Oh, the
ultimately
meaning.
it ends up giving us the context of how we perceive something, because it's the same thing that you said earlier is we can take something like I stubbed my toe and go, "Oh gosh, that's the worst thing ever. Oh, I've hurt myself and I can't believe this," rather than the meaning of, "Wow, I was able to walk," which is a value proposition. Oh, I still
Or
have feeling in my toe.
I
Oh,
have toes. How
yeah,
about
I have
I'm
toes.
grateful I have
Exactly.
toes still, right? Like,
So
this reminded me that I still have toes that work. And if I kick things, it hurts. So maybe I should pay better attention when I'm walking around, what's at the ground. But just that alone, just that gratitude alone. And so so the people that have desires, so if you have a desire and you don't have it yet, and you're not grateful for what you have, no matter what it is, and when I say grateful for what you have, I mean everything, all the terrible stuff that's happened to you, all the good stuff, whatever you have in your life, your current bank account, whatever it looks like right now, if you can't find gratitude for that, like for today, for being alive today,
if
like
you're
the first.
hearing this, you're taking a breath, and that is something for you to be grateful for.
Well, right. And you have abundance because you're listening to this on an electronic device that probably
Yeah.
costs $1,000, right? Like, that's what most people have in their hands these days. And so there should be a ton of gratitude. But so like the first thing I do every day after I take a cold shower is I have a gratitude journal. And
Oh,
the
I'm a,
first thing
I'm a I'm a cold plunge person too. I
yeah,
love. Yeah. All right.
it's
Good.
incredible. I do a shower because that way nobody has excuses. Because it's like, okay, if I have a cold plunge, people are like, well, you have a cold plunge. Like I don't have that, so I can't do it. I'm like, okay, well, cold
You got to
showers are
tap.
harder. Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't. And by the way, I don't jump in cold. I'm not a psychopath. Like, warm. like jumping into a cold shower is impossible. So like, if that was your excuse, you're right. That is very difficult to do. If you can do it, more power to you. But I put it lukewarm. I get in, and then I turn it as cold as I can, and I sit there for a minute, and I just eat it. And it's because one, it's incredible for inflammation reduction, but then also it teaches your subconscious that you can handle uncomfortable things. Because in order to grow in life, you need to do things that are uncomfortable. And you start your day off doing something uncomfortable, well, then the inevitable uncomfortable things that come with growth during your day are going to seem a lot easier, and you're going to automatically go through them instead of shy away from them. So it's extremely powerful. But the gratitude. But the first thing I write is, for me, I write, "Dear Father, thank you for," and I write today because we're not guaranteed today, right? But then the second thing I write that I'm grateful for is a negative event that's happened to me recently that good came out of. So that way I'm conscious of looking for good in everything. Every day I write a negative event that good came out of. Like even for us, there was a ton of in my family, a ton of good stuff came out of COVID, like several good things. And so while that was a shitty time in history, for my family, it was really good. And if you look at your family, there's probably a lot of good too. Sometimes you got to dig for it. I didn't have to. I was like, this is incredible. Like, I know this was this sucked, but for my family, it didn't, because so much good came from it. And then I write, I'm grateful for my family, my dog, my house, my cars, clothes, and so, but the negative event changes your mindset, the way you view things. Because then, even like when a guy cuts you off, like, who cares? Like he doesn't know you. It's not against you. He would have cut anybody off. If he watched that guy drive, he's going to cut four more people off. It had nothing to do with you. But why do you let that boil your blood so much and get you so mad? Like, you gave all your power away
Your
to a
heart
guy.
attack.
Yeah, that
His
doesn't
bad
care.
driving should not be the cause of your heart attack.
No, 100, but so many people do. And
Yep.
now somebody, like I used to be like that. And now somebody cuts me off, like, oh, they're probably having a bad day. I'm not, and I'm not gonna let them ruin mine, right? Like, so it's all how you frame it. Like, so the back to the uh, framework to let go of resentments. We are on giving it a new meaning. You could always assign a meaning that serves you. Always. It's a choice not to. And the last thing is let it go. Right. So that was the 5 steps. It was name it, feel it, cost benefit analysis, reframe it, give it a new meaning, and let it go. And I literally, like, when I was like learning this stuff, I'm like, okay, I gotta let it go. Like, what do I do to let it, like, I'm and so I've like, I still do this today, because every day I go primal. I'm not like some superhero that doesn't every day. I go primal, but I don't live there. If I get mad, upset, angry, stressed, 30 seconds, maybe 90 if it's something huge, and I'm out. I'm done. I'm like, okay, let's reframe this. I'm not gonna let it affect me anymore. But I literally go like this. I take a deep breath in. I wave my hands past my head, gone. And I don't feel it anymore. Like, so for me, like, this action, like, I thought I would, like, at first, like, I won't do this forever. But to me, like, whenever I process it, like, I'm processing a new resentment that comes up. Like, you don't get, this is not work. There's no finish line with this work, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a way of being, right? It's a way of dealing with life, because life is not easy if you haven't noticed, right? And so it doesn't get any easier. This work helps you process the suck, right? There's really good parts, and that you process just fine. But the suck, which is a lot of what life can be if you don't process it the right way and give it good meanings, this work helps you process those parts of life. And so now, like, it something comes up, I was like, I'll sit in my car or sit in wherever. I'm like, all right. And that's the good stuff too. Like, when something awesome happens, I'm like, rock and roll. That was fantastic. Yeah, like, I smile thinking about it, right? Because it's so good, but I don't want to hold on to it, right? Because I know until I learned that, which wasn't but 5 years ago, during COVID, I read one of Michael's books. Um, that is where I learned to process because I was holding on to everything, right? And so I had all kinds I was a mess, right? Now, and I'm still sorting out pieces, because, like my mom, God love her, she's fantastic, but she's extremely judgmental, very opinionated, and doesn't stop talking about it. So when my parents were fighting, when my dad was gone as a kid, I had my mom in my ear, and she is just nonstop when she's talking to
Sure.
people on the phone, so she just says whatever. And so that's why my money issues were so deeply ingrained as, like, my core limiting belief, and tied to these resentments, because my mom, I had all this resentment for her, because I knew that, she's the one that planted all this stuff. And so, while, like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make a new decision, but nothing changed, nothing changed, nothing changed. And I'm like, no, this shit doesn't work. You know, I got the surface level ones are easy. And I was mad. Right. And then I found resentments. And I was like, oh, what's this? And like, all right. So I had to dig deep into resentments. And like I studied the behavioral psychology side of resentments.
Yep.
And once I realized how like I read, like eating poison and expecting the other person to die. I read that. I was like, that was the one phrase that changed everything for me.
Yep.
Because it was like, yeah, I'm not forgiving. She did this to me, and but when you really think about it, like, does that meaning serving you? Is it providing good in your life to keep that resentment, hold on to it, and be negative all the time? Probably not. Right. And so it's a
And it's
process.
probably not changing any behaviors,
No,
which is
when
really, which is really it's not changing their behavior. It's not changing your behavior. The only way to change that is to really kind of do that internal work.
Yeah. And if you've never done the work, guess what? It's still in you and you have to do it or you're going to die with it. And most people do. Like if you ask ChatGPT, how many people are financially broke at 70? It's crazy. It's
It
because
is
they
crazy.
never dealt with those beliefs from growing up because most people do grow up in scarcity and poverty or not with a lot of money. And the reason they stay there is because they never changed the belief system. And so they live check to check or they have investments that they make that aren't good, that the money gets taken away. And so anything extra they don't have by the time they're 65 or 70, they got nothing. That's most people, right? Because they
Yep.
never do this work. So if you're listening to this, just be fortunate that you're becoming aware that this work even exists because it still blows my mind that I talk to people about limiting beliefs and they're like, yeah, I've heard about that, or I'll say resentments and they're like, well, they don't get it, and I can appreciate it because 8 years ago I didn't either, and so it is just it's a this is just a way of being and it's a way of dealing with life's problems, and here's the best part is once you figure this out, like nothing bothers you anymore. Like the stuff that sucks is like, all right, let's give it a good meeting and move on. Like that, I don't like that. I didn't, or I made this mistake. Like I wish I didn't make that mistake, but I did learn this lesson from
Here's
this
what I
mistake.
learned from it. Here's the value that came from it, and here's how I can operate in moving forward. Yeah.
Move on, right? Because like if you're having stress or anxiety all the time, like and you're taking drugs for it, which is nonsense, by the way, but if you're having stress or anxiety, it's because where you're not living. You're not living in the present moment. You're living in the future, which is where your anxiety comes from, or you're thinking about the past, which is where your stress comes from. And so they can change too, but usually anxiety is about the future, stress is about the past. But if you just focus on the present moment and being the best version of yourself today, right now in this moment, and be present for the people in front of you, everything changes. Gratitude and presence will change your life.
Such a great call to action. Jim, if the audience wanted to get in touch with you, how would they connect with you?
My book is available on Amazon, Mindset Breakthrough. You can just search it. You can go to mindsetbreakthrough.com also to get the book. And my website, I'm not on social media very much. You shouldn't be either unless you're using social media to make money. Maybe 20 minutes because part of your fear, stress, anxiety, fear of missing out, comparison, all the stuff that's causing issues in your life, it could be from social media alone. So just know that your hours of scrolling a day are messing with your mindset in ways we never even experienced 10 years ago, 20 years ago. There was other ways back then. This is like messing with your emotions on steroids. And they have you addicted to it too, right? Like
They've
they know the
designed it,
algorithm. Yeah. Well, they use casino slot machine technology. It's the same thing, because that's how they keep you going.
triggering that dopaminergic system. Yep.
100%. And so my website's jimhuntzicker.com. It's just my name. It'll be in the show notes. But you can go there and get a hold of me. I do have social media. Like you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Instagram, but I don't log on to them. So if you want to send me a message, go to my website because I'm never on social media. Like any post that's up there is not me. Like my wife helps me. She's not on social media much easier, so she's not very good. But because social media is not there's nothing good on social media. Like I'm using it now more to get to get to my audience because this is a newer business for me. I started about a year ago getting it off the ground, and so this is still newer, and so I'm growing my audience, and so you'll see me get more and more on social media. But I've gotten this far with pretty much zero social media because I hate it. Like I've never liked it. I've never been a social media person.
That could literally be its own show, let me
Yeah,
tell you.
for sure,
So,
for sure.
Now, Jim, this has been an incredible conversation. I really appreciate you bringing these tools, like actionable tools that are going to help shift some behavior. So I just want to say thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom, your experience, and your story with everybody that is listening here today. So thank you for that.
Yeah, man, Jay, thanks for having me. This was a great conversation.
And thank you, audience, for tuning into this episode of The Talent Forge, where together we're shaping workforce behavior.